Why did Somalia fail? What do you know about Somalia? A beautiful country with a rich history, Somalia once held great promise in the Horn of Africa, but today it's often in the news for all the wrong reasons. So what went wrong? What caused Somalia to fail as a nation? This video will explore the facts and the natural causes behind Somalia's downfall. Colonial rule left deep scars in Somalia. In the late 1800s, Somalia was split between Britain, Italy, and France. Each colonial ruler imposed different systems for governing, economics, and society. This split created regions with little in common. When Somalia became independent in 1960, these regions were forced into one country without a shared national identity. This lack of unity set the stage for future problems. However, British Somaliland, Italian Somaliland, and French Somaliland each had their own rules and systems. The British used a system called indirect rule, which allowed local leaders to keep some power as long as they followed British policies. This created a system where traditional leaders had influence. The Italians took a more direct approach, controlling everything from the top down, with little regard for local customs and leaders. This created a very different way of life compared to British Somaliland. Meanwhile, the French focused on economic exploitation, extracting resources with little investments in local development, making this region even more disconnected from the other two. Because of these different systems, each region developed its way of life, laws, and social structures. When they were brought together in 1960, it was like trying to mix oil and water. The people from these different regions did not see themselves as one nation. They identified more with their local clan or region than with the idea of a united Somalia. Additionally, each colonial power promoted its language. English in the British part, Italian in the Italian part, and French in the French part. This made communication across regions difficult. Economically, the regions were unequal. Some areas had more resources and better infrastructure because of how they were managed during colonial rule, leading to jealousy and mistrust among the areas. When Somalia became independent in 1960, the different regions were suddenly expected to work together as one country. The new government had to balance the interests of various areas and clans, a challenging task because each region had its own agenda. It was easier to create a sense of national pride with a shared history or culture. People were more loyal to their clans and regions than the new Somali state. However, Somalia has many clans, each acting like large extended families with unique identities and interests. These clans hold significant power in Somali society and often compete for resources and influence. Without a strong central government to manage these rivalries, conflicts frequently erupted. So, when the central government fell in 1991, the situation became even more chaotic. Clan-based militias seized control, leading to widespread violence and a prolonged civil war. The lack of a central authority to unite the country allowed these rivalries to spiral out of control, further contributing to Somalia's instability and failure. Siad Barre took power in Somalia through a military coup in 1969 and ruled until 1991. At first, he promised to bring socialism and modernization to the country, aiming to provide equal opportunities for everyone, regardless of their clan or background. His early years showed positive changes, like higher literacy rates and better access to essential services, such as healthcare and education. However, Barre's rule soon turned authoritarian and corrupt. He began silencing political opposition and critics, using the military to maintain control and harsh tactics. As his regime grew more oppressive, hope for a fair and modern society faded, and the initial progress made in the early years of his rule was overshadowed by widespread corruption and violence. Somalia's economy fell apart under Siad Barre's rule and during the Civil War. Many state-owned businesses, which provided essential jobs and services, shut down. The country's infrastructure was destroyed, making it difficult for people to travel, communicate, and trade. Foreign aid, a lifeline for many, stopped coming in, leaving the population even more vulnerable. When Barre's reign collapsed, the situation worsened. The government controlled most businesses, and these businesses needed a central authority to operate. As a result, many people lost their jobs and access to crucial services. The lack of employment and essential services left the economy in ruins, and the people in a state of hardship struggling to survive. Also, foreign interventions have played a significant role in Somalia's instability. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union and the United States got involved in Somalia, but supported different sides. This support only fueled more conflict as the two superpowers tried to outdo each other. In the 1990s, the United Nations and the United States stepped in to help. They aimed to provide food and aid to the suffering population and restore order in the country. However, things went differently than planned. After suffering casualties, the US and UN pulled out, leaving Somalia in a worse state of chaos. More recently, neighbouring countries like Ethiopia and Kenya have also gotten involved in Somalia's affairs. Their interventions at times have worsened the conflict instead of bringing peace. These foreign involvements have added complexity to a difficult situation, making it even harder for Somalia to find stability and peace. The power vacuum and lack of law enforcement allowed extremist groups to take advantage of the situation. One of these groups is Al-Shabaab, an Islamist militant group that emerged in the mid-2000s. They want to impose a strict version of Islam on Somalia. Al-Shabaab has carried out many attacks, not only within Somalia, but also in nearby countries, which has made the region even more unstable. Their presence makes it very hard for any central government to gain control and provide essential services to the people. This ongoing violence and instability have been significant obstacles to Somalia's recovery and development. Somalia faces frequent droughts and famines, and climate change worsens these problems. These disasters destroy crops and kill livestock, causing severe food shortages and malnutrition. Without a strong government, there's no proper system to handle these emergencies. As a result, millions of people are left in a very vulnerable situation. Humanitarian aid organisations try to help, but the ongoing conflict and insecurity often prevent them from reaching those who need it most. This combination of natural disasters and lack of support makes life extremely hard for many Somalis. Years of conflict have wrecked Somalia's education and healthcare systems. Schools and hospitals have been damaged or left in ruins, so many people cannot access essential services. The lack of education means low literacy rates and very few job opportunities, trapping many in a cycle of poverty. Without proper healthcare, preventable diseases and malnutrition are common, making the population even weaker. This breakdown of essential services has had a devastating impact on the lives of Somalis, making it even harder for the country to recover. Somalia's instability has caused the country to be isolated from the rest of the world. Many countries are hesitant to get involved with Somalia because of security issues and the absence of a stable government with which to work. This isolation means Somalia has limited access to international trade, investment, and aid. These resources are necessary for Somalia to rebuild its economy and institutions. This lack of connection with the global community keeps the country stuck in a cycle of poverty and instability, making recovery even more challenging. Despite these challenges, there have been efforts to rebuild Somalia. In recent years, attempts have been made to establish a federal government, hold elections, and draft a new constitution. International organisations and donor countries have provided support for these efforts. However, progress has been slow and fragile. Ongoing conflict and political infighting create significant obstacles. While there are glimpses of hope, the path to a stable and prosperous Somalia remains complex and uncertain. Today, Somalia is still one of the world's most fragile states. The central government only controls part of the country, while clan militias or extremist groups still influence many areas. The economy is slowly recovering, but relies heavily on money sent back by Somalis living abroad and international aid. Humanitarian needs are immense, with millions of people needing help to survive. This ongoing struggle highlights Somalia's significant challenges in achieving stability and prosperity. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to like and subscribe for deeper insights into the world's most intriguing stories. Thanks for watching.